In the 1790s, a certain Rowena Rowley realised that since gin is a clear liquid, she could smuggle it in broad daylight in ships in bottles. And so Gaston, a native of Roscoff, was employed by Rowena to produce the gin, manufacture the ships in bottles, and amalgamate the two. When these loaded bottles arrived in St Ives, the gin was removed, because the demand for ships in bottles at that date was as great as the call for gin, and there was hardly a coastal inn which could not boast a dozen or more of those curios. When word reached the revenue that St Ives was awash with liquor, an agent was sent to investigate. By chance, this man happened to be a keen collector of ships in bottles, and whenever a fresh consignment arrived, he was the first on the quay. He would place his order without being allowed to handle the goods, and later the bottles were brought around, minus the gin, of course, a service for which the smugglers charged corkage. Meanwhile, back in Brittany, the wily Gaston had discovered something which, when added to the gin, gave it special optical qualities, causing the ships to appear much larger than they really were. This allowed him to slide far smaller ships in through the necks, saving all the bother with the sails. As a result, he dismissed half his workforce and doubled his profits. But because these tiny ships now either looked ridiculous without the gin, or slipped out with it, Rowena's own profits were halved. When a spy eventually discovered what Gaston was adding to the gin, Rowena produced this herself and sold it to the revenue to fill their telescopes so they could see further and rid the sea of all her rivals. Today at Rowley Hall, Vera Rowley, a descendant of Rowena's, raises a glass each evening to the founder of the family fortune. But by the time she has emptied a bottle, she is usually too far gone to notice that another vessel is missing. And this is how many of the ships go down.